Alrighty, greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to our Saturday afternoon live stream for Week 9 of the 2025 fantasy football season. Over the course of the next hour plus, we're talking all things fantasy football related, answering your guys' questions, of course, talking about injuries that, of course, have been designated by the official reports as of yesterday, and how we could potentially navigate the waiver wire to potentially set ourselves up for success going into this week. We'll talk about starter sit questions. We'll talk about trade questions. We'll talk about potential pickups. I know this week we did not have a episode in regards to the hidden gems, primarily because of the scheduling conflict, but as of the potential of a couple hidden gems out there, there are many of them. Now, what I like to do to begin our Saturday live streams typically over the course of the season is specifically mentioning a couple of the injuries that are going to impact the upcoming contest this upcoming Sunday. Therefore, let's go ahead and let me just review with you guys the latest that we know in regards to going into this upcoming weekend's matchups, in regards to the most valuable pieces of information that we've gathered. First and foremost, if we talk about the thumbnail of today's live stream, Kyle Monangai, the primary reason he sits there is because not only is DeAndre Swift out, but so is Roschon Johnson. There is no competition for him within this backfield. He is an automatic pickup and play if he's somehow still available in your league, to the capacity of being at least a top 15, if not top 12 running back ranked by tomorrow morning, once I've officially set that, whether it is a half or full PPR. Just the volume of rushing attempts this backfield has been contributing as of late, on top of the fact that the other two running backs that would compete with him are out, makes it a just automatic play in that circumstance. We also, specifically within that matchup, talking about the Bears taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Flacco is trending towards playing. He didn't practice Wednesday or Friday. He did have limited participation on Thursday, which gives us the indication that he should be probably available, but all in all, not the greatest overall position to be in. For those of you who have an alternative option that I've mentioned on my most recent quarterback rankings video, maybe even Jacoby Brissett could be a better option, just in case that re-aggravation of the shoulder injury was to take place during the game in which he leaves. Speaking of Kyle Monangai, of course, somebody in the chat just asked Kenneth Walker, Henderson, or Monangai. I genuinely would play Monangai over all of them, especially considering Logan Wilson, Hendrickson, and also one of their other linebackers is going to be out. That run-stop defense is already bad. Imagine with their primary starters out. It's just going to be an automatic in that position. Let's see. Other potential players that are going to be missing going into this weekend. Marvin Mims is going to be out. Patrick Surtain is out officially because, of course, that is going to elevate Nico Collins. Kirby Joseph's going to be out. Travis Hunter we know. Tim Patrick we know. So the potential of Parker Washington getting more utilization, Dahimi Brown as well, could be very much so impactful for fantasy purposes. If I was to suggest one of the two, I would rather have Parker Washington on roster. For those of you who are dealing with a bit of a bye week or injury situation there, I think he would certainly be able to help going into the Raiders matchup. In regards to that specific Raiders matchup, Eric Murray, one of the starting safeties of the Jaguars, is going to be out. So that's kind of a position to kind of keep an eye on. Pacheco's out, of course. Kareem Hunt is an automatic pickup and play primarily because of the absence of a run-stop defense for the Buffalo Bills this season. And, of course, Shaq Thompson's also going to be out. And DaQuan Jones. So two of their starting front seven guys are going to be out. So, ultimately, running the ball against the Bills will be a very successful plan of action. Other potential injuries that we know of, Jeff Okudah is going to be out. Josh Oliver on the Vikings is going to be out. I think that bumps the overall value of Hawkinson ever so slightly. Ramondre we know is going to be out. I'm sure many of you are going to be playing, what's his name? Travion Henderson going into this weekend, so that's going to be fantastic. In terms of other incredibly significant injuries, we know Purdy and Pearsall are going to be out again. Oh, okay, here's another one of these that is incredibly important. So Tennessee Titans, Calvin Ridley's going to be out once again. But not only that, the primary nickel cornerback of the Los Angeles Rams still is going to be out. Therefore, Chimere DK, 100% top 30 wide receiver in my mind. Additionally, if we want to talk about that matchup, three of the starting defenders of the Tennessee Titans are going to be out. Arden Key, Jeffrey Simmons, Xavier Woods. I would anticipate that running attack and honestly all forms of the Chargers offense to find success. Outside of that, oh yeah, the final thing I wanted to mention. Besides, of course, Kyler Murray missing on Monday, Donovan, I think it's Wilson. Where's the Cowboy? Donovan Wilson, one of the starting safeties of the Cowboys, being out. As if that secondary wasn't already dealing with a shambles situation, we're going to stack on top of it. The only other thing is, in the event in which Cooper Kupp does not play tomorrow, Okay, he did not practice Friday, which gives me the indication that Cooper Kupp is probably not going to play. Not only is Cooper Kupp potentially going to miss, Jake Bobo already designated out, and Derek Young already designated out. So that would mean that there would be only 2 active wide receivers on the Seahawks roster. It would be JSN and Torrey Horton. Horton would get himself a huge elevation and bump in terms of overall opportunity share, as would AJ Barner in the event in which this was to occur against Washington this week. Okay, good to go. We've covered all that. Fantastic. Just wanted to go ahead and just run through that really quickly so we're all on the same page, because I will be referencing some of these names for sure, and a lot of the injuries as to these players kind of getting more value. Oh, another one I forgot to mention, Daniel Bellinger going to be out for the Giants. Theo Johnson gets a little bit of an uptick of production against the 49ers. Okay, before we get into talking about the questions that have been sent in via Super Chat to claim priority, a quick reminder, I'll be back tomorrow morning starting at 7 a.m. PST. But for those of you guys who want my Sunday morning rankings sent from my email directly to yours, you guys know how to take care of that. Of course, by checking out Betr, signing up today using code Andrew, making that first time deposit minimum of 10, and making that first time play within a real cash play. And you'll be eligible to get those rankings every Sunday for the remainder of the season up until week 18. Outside of that, you can check out the Patreon, or you can swing on by tomorrow morning and get your you can get your questions answered, and we'll try to help you guys out to the best of my ability. Thank you. Okay, let's get into answering questions, shall we? We begin with Death to Ming, who says, start ETN or Ladd McConkey in the flex in a half PPR scoring format. Let me check where my half PPR scoring format currently has these two, and I'll let you know right now. I believe... Okay, so as it currently stands between the two of them, I have Travis Etienne 2 spots ahead of Ladd McConkey in my flex rankings. I think they're incredibly close. In a half PPR, I think the advantage does revolve around the running back position, so I'm going to lean in that direction. I'll go with Travis Etienne this week, as the offense is certainly going to be having to rely upon the run game with less receiving threats out there due to injury. So we'll lean towards ETN, but I truly do believe both of them I have in my top 20 flex rankings going into this week. So really, there's just you've got just too much talent on your team at this point. If it was a full PPR, I'd go with Ladd. Thank you. Smooth Criminal says, offered Hall and Cade Otton for Henderson and Tyler Warren. Okay, so you were offered Hall and Otton for Henderson and Tyler Warren. I genuinely would probably rather have the Henderson and Tyler Warren side. Again, the way that I see it, I don't know what the status of Hall is going to be with the upcoming trade deadline approaching. In the event in which he gets traded to a team in which he becomes a part of a backfield committee rather than an isolated starter like he currently is, I feel like there's a lot of potential threat there. In the event in which you would be trading away Hall, I would make this trade. I'll just take Tyler Warren and run to the hills, because Cade Otton's value is very much so dependent on the absence of Godwin, McMillan, and Evans. And eventually they're going to come back, and the value of Otton will subsequently decrease drastically. So as of right now, I would rather have this side, especially considering the value of Otton is a fleeting commodity, and Hall, I think, is just in a little bit of a sketchy situation, because I don't know what is going to officially happen as of this time next week, where he'll be, whether he'll be a Jet or a part of another organization. Suarez sends her the question. It says full PPR start for Ladd, Tet, Hunt, Monunga, and Rome. Okay, so you've got a lot of really good options here. In a full PPR scoring format, I feel... Okay, so Ladd McConkey's my number 1. Monunga and Rome would be my 2-3 in either order. Then it's between Hunt and Tedero McMillan. And as of right now, considering I'm anticipating a little bit of a shootout there between the Bills and Chiefs, I'm going to play Kareem Hunt as my final option, and I'll probably end up just benching Tedero McMillan. Now, I do want to preface just specifically, when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs practice report and injury report as of this week, Kareem Hunt technically is on it, but he did practice at a full, capacity all 3 days. I don't know why exactly they designated him if he practiced fully all 3 days. If I was you guys, I wouldn't worry about that. That's not something that we need to really look at, because if he practiced at a full capacity, as long as it's not one of those Lamar Jackson situations where he practiced with the practice squad, I think we'll be fine. Tedero McMillan's the odd man out here. Thank you, Suarez. Appreciate it. Didi, what's up? Says Lost Swift and Terry McLaurin. I have Rachaad White on a bye week. Who should I pick up on waivers in flex? Drop White or Terry? Okay, so if I would... Oh, that's a very interesting question. I think the White versus Terry question becomes a matter of, do you have Bucky Irving? Because if you have Bucky Irving, you have to keep Rachaad White. And then additionally, on top of it, it's a matter of, what does your running back versus wide receiver depth look like effectively? Because even though I do believe in terms of rest of season value, Terry McLaurin has the potential of scoring more fantasy points. In the event in which something happens to Bucky Irving again, I wouldn't want to drop White if I have Bucky on roster, right? So that's the only kind of thought process in which I'm currently sitting with. Now, in regards to your current scoring format, 0.25 points per reception, 100 plus yard bonus points. Tyjae Spears, DJ Moore, Jawan Jennings, Trey Tucker, Kendrick Bourne, or Brashard Smith. Out of these available options, genuinely, I would play DJ Moore. Luther Burden's going to be out this week. DeAndre Swift's going to be out this week. I think if the running game begins to start to flounder at any point, which I doubt it's going to, I honestly think that the volume of points that teams have put up against that Cincinnati defense just kind of continues to justify firing up basically all of our Chicago Bears in this circumstance. I understand it's tough to trust Caleb Williams, but even then, I feel like it's an incredible matchup we can't pass up on. So looking at all your available options here, I'm going to go with DJ Moore. Thank you. Let me see. Do you have any other questions here? It says, by the way, I have Bucky. I'm glad that you mentioned this. Thank you. By the way, I have Bucky Irving as my IR spot. Yeah, so in this case, I don't want to drop Rachaad White. I'd feel very much so lost in the event in which if we come back off of the bye and Bucky Irving is not available to play, I wouldn't want to put ourselves in a position to which we don't have Rachaad White to kind of, accumulate the value which is being lost there. So I would keep White on roster, pick up DJ Moore, and keep it moving. Thank you, Didi. I appreciate it. H. Jokic, what's up, my man? Says PPR start three between Chase Brown, Henderson, Tracy, and ETN. All right, beautiful. Of these available options, I think it's 100% contingent on whether or not we have Joe Flacco starting. In the event in which Flacco is not available, I honestly, looking at the three, okay, so let's say Flacco is not available. Obviously, we start everyone except for Chase Brown. We have no interest in playing Chase Brown when Jake Browning is out there. So the only question becomes, is there any possibility in which I sit any of these three in the event in which Flacco does play? To which I'm thinking to myself, in a full PPR, I probably even wouldn't do that. Yeah, I probably, regardless of how it goes for Flacco, because of the full PPR format and how much receiving utilization, specifically players like Tyrone Tracy and Henderson are going to be exposed to, because I do believe ETN's value is just so much more likelihood to kind of reach not only the floor, but also the potential for upside in comparison to Chase Brown. I would just stick with these two regardless of how it goes. So these are the three. Chase Brown's your odd man out this week. Thank you, H. Jockish. Pete, what's up, my man? Should I flex Kincaid, Watson, Mooney, or Coker? Thank you. I mean, after last week's Mooney debacle, I don't really think I want to go down that road as of this current moment. As for Jalen Coker, he's getting more utilization as the weeks progress, but I don't feel the most comfortable running in that direction either. So it's either between Kincaid or Watson, to which between the two of them, I think they're very similar players where we're going to need a big play, whether it is a huge reception down the field or a rushing attempt in the form of someone like Christian Watson, or in the case of Kincaid, we're going to need a touchdown to be able to kind of preserve the value of our week. Within the upcoming potential of this shootout, I would rather just play Kincaid if I had a choice, because I don't know what Watson's overall kind of snap share is going to look like. Even though this most recent week, yes, he comes away with 4 catches, 80 plus yards, but in the event in which he is still running at about 50% of the overall route share, and it's not going to be, at a higher capacity, I'd rather just roll with Kincaid in a potential shootout. Thank you. All right. What's up, Verge? How's it going? It says, full PPR, start 4 wide receivers. We have Rome, Rice, DK, Olave, Allen, and Nico. Okay, so we've got really good players here. Rashee Rice is an auto start every single week regardless. Then we have the potential of going... let's see here. Yeah, I think it's pretty easy in my mind. I'm going to play Rice. I'm going to play Nico Collins. I'm going to play Rome Odunze and DK Metcalf. So Keenan Allen and Chris Olave would be the odd man out in this circumstance. I think Chris Olave and Keenan Allen's value obviously is plentiful when they get that high reception count. But considering, again, we have so many threats in comparison to Keenan Allen within that specific Chargers offense. And then additionally, on top of it, we have Chris Olave with the new quarterback under center last week. Yes, in the second half, they connected a couple times there. I think he had 4 receptions for 6 yards total. It wasn't the greatest overall look for Olave there. So considering you have such great alternative options, I'll go Nico, DK, Rice, and Rome. Thank you, Big Verge. Coolest Nerd Irvin says, Andrew, my God, put a question in the chat. All right, thanks, good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, my man. Let's see here. What do we have here? It says, I need to play 3. I have a half PPR. Who do I play between Rome, DK, BTJ, and Lad McConkey? I mean, if you need to play 3 of these available options, I genuinely put myself in a position to where I'm playing Lad McConkey for sure. And then at that point, between BTJ, DK, and Rome, even though I want to play BTJ, I don't trust it. Like that is the biggest concern, because not only is he dealing with an injury and he's been limited in practice all week long, the opportunity share has not just like consistently been there week in and week out, unless it's been an incredible matchup like that Seahawks game recently. So if it's me, I probably just roll with Lad, DK, and Rome Odunze in this specific circumstance. Thank you. RZ King says non-PPR start 1. More Shakir or pick up Jennings. No, in this circumstance, I would just play Khalil Shakir here. Shakir 1, Moore 2, Jennings 3. Thank you. Danny D sends in a question. Says full PPR start Jacoby, Woods, Tracy, or Dowdle. If I'm playing 2 of these 3 available, I'm going to play Tracy and Woods as of this week. Jacoby Myers not too interested in, even though it is an advantageous matchup, even when we have seen him with solid matchups before. As of late, has not been given a healthy enough target opportunity share, unless the entire organization is specifically trying to funnel the ball in his direction in order to trade him, just to kind of give him, a little bit more elevated value. That's the only reason in which he would ever get more touches this week. Otherwise, between these available options, Tracy and Woods are your autos. Lamosity, what's up, my man? Says, which trade? Tetero McMillan and Breece Hall for Egbuka or Jefferson, and Hall for Chase. I'm so confused. Okay, T-Mac and Breece Hall for Egbuka, or Jefferson and Hall for Chase. Okay, considering what you would have to give and what you're getting in return, I personally would rather give away Tetero McMillan and Breece Hall for Egbuka rather than Jefferson and Hall for Chase. As great as Chase has been, the injury to Flacco's shoulder is a little bit concerning, to where if that becomes something that gets re-aggravated and it forces him to miss time, I think the value of Chase drops significantly. Obviously, he's still going to be in the top 5 to 10 wide receiver conversation with Jake Browning, but still not going to come away with, 16 to 25 targets in a given week. So for now, I'd rather go after Egbuka if I had an opportunity to pick one of the 2 trades to explore. Says I have Genty, Bucky, Hall, Tracy, ETN, JSN, T-Mac, Wanda Robinson, Myers. Yeah, I'll take this trade. That works for me. You got a really good team here, Lamosity. Well done. Luis, what's up? Says 6 point per passing touchdown. Drake May or Dak Prescott. Says half rank Juwan Marks, K9 Pierce. Okay, so first and foremost, let's answer this question in a half PPR. Juwan Jennings, Woody Marks, Kenneth Walker, Alec Pierce. Of these available options, I'd go with Woody Marks 1, Kenneth Walker 2, Alec Pierce 3, Juwan Jennings 4. That's the order in which I would explore this. Then at which we go about this. Actually, no, you know what? It'd be Juwan Jennings 3rd. So we'll go Marks, K9, Juwan, Pierce. That's how I'd establish it. As for a 6 point per passing touchdown format between Drake May and Dak Prescott, I honestly want to go look at their overall contributions in a 6 point per passing touchdown league, so I have an idea, because usually I don't play in too many of those. So as of late, my goodness. So you're telling me that Drake May in a 6 point per passing touchdown league has put up 27 plus points for 4 of the last 5 games, and we're considering not playing him. Let's see what Dak Prescott has done lately. He's also put up 28 plus points in 4 of the last 5 games. Okay, so really at this point, you can go about it whichever way you'd like. You've got 2 stud options here, to say the least. Between the 2 of them, I do technically have, Dak Prescott and Drake May back to back. I think in a 4 point per passing touchdown league, the rushing upside that Drake May presents, I think kind of gives him the edge there. But considering we're talking about a 6 point per passing touchdown format, I think technically speaking, then again, I mentioned it on Friday's episode. Drake May has scored 3 touchdowns in like 4 of the last 7. Like at this point, you're good going either of the 2 ways. If I had to give you I'd probably play Drake May there. I'd probably still roll with him. I think they're both fantastic plays, back-to-back auto starts. The fact that you have to choose between the 2 makes me think like you should be trading one of these off if you can. All right, Infamous Papa sends in a question. Says 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, 2 tight end, and 2 flex formats. Trade Rico and Dobbins for Breece Hall. In a league in which I can start 2 running backs and 2 flex, my only question is, do you have enough depth to afford a trade of this caliber? Because for right now, when I look at the upcoming schedule of the Jets running backs, it is not a pretty sight to see ahead. I mean, specifically when we're talking about like the fantasy playoffs, it's a disaster. First and foremost, they have the fourth most difficult schedule. And then additionally on top of it, if we're just talking about the rest of the fantasy football, season, weeks 9 through 17, they have the sixth most difficult schedule. After the bye, they get Cleveland, then New England, which again is already difficult. Then they get the Baltimore Ravens, which is only going to get better as we proceed and get healthy. Then you have a pretty good slate of 2 weeks there in weeks 13, 14 against Atlanta, Miami. Then you get Jacksonville, which is a tough run stop. New Orleans, which is okay. And then New England again, which is a disaster. So if you can afford the depth, you can go for it. But there's only a handful, maybe like 3 or 4 matchups there. Specifically 3 in which I'm excited about. Atlanta, Miami, and New Orleans that you would be able to take advantage of weeks 13 through 16. Otherwise, I probably just keep the duo and keep my depth on roster because there's still going to be upcoming injuries and bye weeks that you'll have to compensate for in regards to 2 running backs and 2 flex as we proceed. Thank you. Jeremy sends in a question, says, hi, Andrew. Put a question in the chat. Thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate that. Okay, let's see what you have here, brother. Says, I'm 3-5 in a 12-team league in a half PPR super flex format. 6 teams make the playoffs, and I'm currently in 9th. I'm down bad at running back. Should I trade Trevor Lawrence for Montgomery? My other quarterbacks are Josh Allen and Sam Darnold. So both of them are past their bye weeks, and you're more than welcome to trade away Trevor Lawrence because I don't see either of these two, knock on wood, missing time. So in the event in which we have the opportunity to move Trevor Lawrence to get David Montgomery, if that is the best running back that you can feasibly get in return, then sure, let's go for it. I would obviously try to aim for a higher potential stake of a running back player. Hopefully someone, I would hope that you can get someone like a Woody Marks, but in the event in which you can't get a Woody Marks or a J.K. Dobbins, I'm okay to settle with the potential of a David Montgomery, even though I don't think he is a outright starter every single week out. It does give you a little bit of required depth in the meanwhile until Bucky Irving returns. So it says Sam Darnold is a 9th round keeper for me next year. By the way, Montgomery is the best offer I've been able to get for Trevor Lawrence so far. My current running backs are as such. Yeah, let's make the deal. Again, you're going to start Josh Allen and Sam Darnold every week rest of the season anyway. And considering the injury to Travis Hunter, I think the value of Trevor Lawrence has gone down quite a bit here going forward. So I'm cool with that, Jeremy. Thank you. All right, let's hear Marvin. What's up? Marvin Lewis says standard scoring format: Bam, Addison, Sutton, or Harvey in the flex. Okay, so here's my current concern. So Bam Knight, technically, based on the head coach, okay, Jonathan Gannon came out and said Bam Knight is going to be the primary starter. He's going to be out there with the first team to begin the game. Then I saw a report from a beat writer that follows the Arizona Cardinals, was at practice, specifically saying that Michael Carter was taking the first team reps. So the way that I see it, it's probably going to continue to proceed as the same kind of backfield rotation that we've witnessed over the course of the last couple weeks in the event in which we've seen Bam Knight and Michael Carter kind of split the backfield. Bam would be the primary kind of goal line back, while they'll still both get very similar touching opportunities. So in a standard scoring format, with that being the case, I'm still okay rolling with Bam Knight here because of 0 points per reception. Otherwise, I think your next best option in this circumstance probably ends up being Jordan Addison or Cortland Sutton. I'm not really too interested in playing Harvey against Houston. So between Sutton and Addison, I'd probably go in my current order: Bam 1, Sutton 2, Addison 3, Harvey 4. Thank you, Marvin. Appreciate it. All right, Bossa B sends in a question. Says, what's good, Andrew? In a standard scoring format, I need 2 running backs and a flex. We have Jalen Warren, Kyle Monangai, Rico Dowdle, Bam Knight, Demo as in David Montgomery, and BTJ. Okay, cool. So if you need 2 running backs out of these available, I would play Jalen Warren alongside of Kyle Monangai. And then within my flex position, if I'm looking at these 4 available, it's a really tough question. Standard scoring format. Do I want to play a Brian Thomas Jr. or do I just want to risk it for the biscuit and play somebody like BTJ? Because I kind of want to play Brian Thomas. Let me see where I have them in my half PPR rankings, and then maybe I can kind of get an idea as to which direction to go. Okay, so that's where he is. And then where's Bam? Bam Knight. Nope, I have him at Donovan Knight, or Zonovan, excuse me. So Zonovan is technically ranked higher in a half PPR, but since the injury, we'd probably adjust that upward to the point where That's a tough question. I think as of right now, considering you're playing in a standard scoring format, I'll typically lean towards the running back, especially running backs who have touchdown potential for upside. I think all three, Rico, Dowdle, Bam Knight, and David Montgomery, are capable of it, but I think Bam Knight would be in the best position to succeed. So I go Warren, Monungai, and Knight there. Thank you. Appreciate it, my man. All right. I appreciate you guys sending in those super chats. Again, I'm going to be catching up with them as we go out throughout this entire live stream. I do appreciate y'all coming through. If you guys haven't yet already, click the like button down below. Thank you very much. Mean the Bush sends in a question. Says PPR Sutton, Etienne, or Hunt. Thank you. I would play Travis Etienne out of those available options. Thank you. Jay sends in a question. Says Flacco or Mac Jones, Genty or Henderson in a full PPR. You know, I'm beginning to kind of convince myself as the days have gone on here and that we've gotten confirmation that officially Stevenson's going to be out, that I think I'd rather play Henderson than Genty this week, genuinely, because that Jaguars matchup isn't just a cakewalk in this circumstance, while Henderson against Atlanta has been. Like, Atlanta's run-stop defense genuinely, as of late, have struggled, and specifically, even in just the last 2 weeks, have done enough to where it's convinced me that I'd like to play Henderson there, especially with the full PPR capacity. I mean, again, this most recent week gave up 141 rushing yards to the Miami Dolphins running backs, and in the week prior, over 160 and 2 touchdowns to the San Francisco 49ers. If the Buffalo Bills decided to run the ball more, they would have cleared over 100. Washington cleared over 100. Carolina cleared over 100 and a touchdown. I'm going to go with Henderson there. Now, as for Mac Jones versus Flacco, okay, so if Flacco is available and he's starting, I will probably... It's the Giants. I feel like Mac Jones is probably just... Okay, Mac Jones is technically the safer play, objectively speaking. So I would probably say, with the safety that Mac Jones provides and Flacco's injury risk that is involved, I would just play Mac Jones just to not put myself in a position to where my quarterback plays one quarter, leaves the game due to an injury, and we're in shambles. All right, let's see here. Trey says Flacco or Darnold this week. At this point, I'm just going to go with Darnold. I just want to stick with the safety. Had he practiced at a limited or full capacity yesterday, I would have said, yeah, let's go with Flacco. But considering he, prior to yesterday's video, I mean, I didn't have any information regarding the Friday practice report, so I was just under the assumption that he would have practiced yesterday. He didn't. So I'm going to just lean towards Darnold there, which has a great matchup against Washington, by the way. Josh Holt sends in a question. Says PPR pick 3, Henderson, Walker, Dowdle, or BTJ. Okay. Of these available, Walker isn't the guy that I'm going to sit this week. So I'll play Henderson 1, I'll play BTJ 2, I'll play Dowdle 3, Walker sitting on the bench. Thank you. The Bid Podcast says, what's up, Drew? Set up my lineup in a 10-team full PPR format. We got 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 flex. My running backs are Henderson, Bam, Monungai, Charbonnet, and Hunt. Okay, all of your available running backs, I am playing Travion Henderson, and I am playing Kyle Monungai. Clear and away, easy to selections there. As for your wide receivers, you have Lamb, Sutton, Tedero, McMillan. As of those available, let's see where I had Tet in a full PPR comparatively to Mr. Sutton here. Yeah, as of right now, between those two, I'm comfortable going Lamb and Tedero McMillan. And then within your flex position, give me Bowers. And then within the potential flex position, it's either between playing one of these. Ooh, okay. Yeah, I think there is a conversation to be had in regards to Gadsden potentially claiming that flex spot. Between him and like a Kareem Hunt or Bam Knight, I feel relatively, comfortable with the idea that we can find enough value from Kareem Hunt in this advantageous matchup to kind of cash in on it. So I'm going to lean towards, for now, yeah, I think this is where we're going to go even tomorrow. Henderson, Monungai, Hunt, Lamb, Tedero, McMillan, and Bowers. In the event in which you wanted to play Gadsden over Hunt in the flex, I'm okay with it. But for right now, I really do like the opportunity in which Hunt is going to have against that very much so weak run-stop defense of the Buffalo Bills. Thank you. Spencer James sends in a question. Says, PPR, I'm 5-3. A win would put me in first or second, so really want to win. Who should I play in my flex? Quentin Johnston, Kayshon Boutte, or Parker Washington? That's a really good question. I genuinely think I'm going to end up playing Parker Washington out of this group because of the full PPR format. I can go pull this up right now. So in regards to Parker Washington's overall usage as of this season, it's kind of fluctuated, obviously, because of Travis Hunter kind of claiming more offensive utilization as we proceed. But in this most recent week, he came away with 10 targets, and then even earlier this year against Houston, came away with 11 targets in a game. The volume of opportunity that he'll be exposed to in a PPR format leads me to believe that I think he's the safest floor, while both of these other two alternative options require touchdowns to be relevant in any sort of capacity, which at this point I'll just take the floor of production, and if Parker comes away with a touchdown, then even better. Thank you. Manana sends in a question, says, updated 3 and 5 guy. I picked up some new players. Okay. Quarterback, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. Okay. We have Barkley, Bijan, Monangai, Tracy White, JSN, Puka, Watson, Debo, Booty, Tyler Warren, and Kittle. Brother, this team is too good. I'm telling you, we talked about this the other day, whether it was I think it was Thursday night or was it Wednesday night. There's just too much value on your team. You have too many good players. Like, genuinely, this 3 and 5 record does not signify what you're going to do in terms of damage for the remainder of the season. Once you get Barkley back next week, I mean, like, if we're talking about this week and what we're starting in terms of this lineup as a whole, yeah, because looking at the roster, you made some trades, obviously, but specifically this week, like Bijan, Monangai are easy 1-2 RB combo. You play JSN and Puka as your wide receivers. You play Tyler Warren as your tight end. And then genuinely, I probably end up playing Debo or Tracy or Kittle. You got so many good players that at this point, like in a full PPR format in the flex, I probably just end up going with Debo in this circumstance. But man, you've got really good players to the point to where if you wanted to trade Kittle, you very easily could. And try to go and move, let's say, for example, theoretically speaking, you move Debo and Kittle and you go get a top-tier wide receiver. You go after Justin Jefferson. I'm sure you can get it because they won't be able to say no to that kind of a deal. But if you wanted to just keep the depth, you can as we proceed because you do have upcoming bye weeks here for Warren. But damn, this is a good team. And just wait. As soon as these roster, as soon as you start clicking in this roster and it just starts picking up victories here, it's over. Kevin Smith, what's up? Says super, okay, not super, says sup, full PPR. I thought I was going to say super flex for a second. Full PPR, I need one between Dobbs, Pitts, Shaheed, and Jennings. That's a really interesting one. I like the idea of playing Kyle Pitts against New England. So that's probably the direction that I'll lean towards out of these available options. I really do like Rashid Shaheed this week, considering his overall volume of utilization. But he was questionable going into this week anyway with a little bit of an injury there. So let me see. What is his current status going into Sunday? Saints injury report, Rashid Shaheed, if it wants to load. He got a limited participation dealing with a hip injury. I probably just play Kyle Pitts number 1, Shaheed 2, Dobbs 3, Jennings 4. Thank you. Michael sends in a question. Says start 1 running back and 2 flex. We have Kyron, Monangai, Chase Brown, London, and Sutton. Cool. I'm going to play Kyron, Monangai, and London. Everybody else sits up. So basically Chase Brown and Sutton are on my bench. Thank you. We had a question from Ant Lee, who says, start 2, Henderson, Monangai, Hunt. Henderson and Monangai are the 1-2 combo. Again, all 3 are fantastic. All 3 are going to be highly ranked tomorrow morning in our live stream. But Henderson and Monangai are just like the autos. All right. Piggles sends in a question. Says, what's up, man? Love your videos. Questions in the chat. Thank you very much. I appreciate the kind words. Okay. Full PPR. I'm currently 3 and 5. Trade Dobbins and Charbonnet for Jalen Warren. I've got Drake May, J.K. Dobbins, Travis Etienne, Adams, Tedero McMillan, Keenan Allen, Keyshawn Booty, Charbonnet, Spears, DK, Tez, Golden. If not, what /player can I target for Dobbins and Charbonnet? Look, okay, so here's the reality. Dobbins and Charbonnet thus far this season in a full PPR scoring format have objectively been more valuable than what you're getting in return here. I think if you offer Dobbins and Charbonnet and they said no, they would be making a genuine mistake unless they didn't need the depth. Because as it currently stands, like the value which they both provide are just like solid RB2 value, which I want to have on my team at this point, right? Like, especially with upcoming bye weeks and all this kind of disaster situations that may occur. Like Dobbins right now in a full PPR is averaging 12.4. I understand Charbonnet is only averaging 10.0, but you're still getting 2 really solid productive weeks there, while Warren thus far this season is only averaging 13.6 fantasy points per game. So I think Dobbins and Warren are very much so equally valued to where if Charbonnet doesn't get the deal done, I'd be surprised. Now, if I was you, I would rather go and send away Dobbins and Charbonnet and try to go get either a Travis Etienne, a Kyron Williams, maybe even the potential of going and buying a player like Bucky Irving for the future of the season. I think there are many running backs out there that have incredible value points right now that you may be able to go after in those kind of forms. A Kyron, an Etienne, maybe even a Genty in this circumstance, a Derrick Henry still. That could be a potential exploration. Otherwise, I mean, technically, yes, Jaylen Warren I would rather have more than both of these running backs, but that's on an individual basis. As you proceed for the remainder of the season, having Dobbins, Etienne, Charbonnet, I would just keep your roster as is unless you can get an Etienne or a Kyron Williams or a Bucky Irving like I mentioned earlier. Thank you. Mark says, trade Bucky for Jacobs full PPR. Yeah, listen, I would. But you would then subsequently after have to pick up Emmanuel Wilson because Jacobs has been dealing with his calf injury for about 3 weeks now. And that in itself has been worrisome enough for me, to which if I don't have the handcuff of Josh Jacobs available on roster, I think I would stress out too much over the course of a given week. So in this circumstance, yes, I probably put myself in a position to which I make the trade. I will trade away Bucky Irving to bring in Josh Jacobs, but I would try to open up a position to where I can get, hopefully, Emmanuel Wilson on roster just to have him secured and insured. Mo Money says, hey, Andrew, questions in the chat. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Let's see what you have here. Says, trade Alvin Kamara for Hampton. I would. Says, also, with Hunter in the IR, should I still trade BTJ and Worthy for Jaylen Warren? Probably not. Yeah, not anymore. Especially if you can, well, let's see here. It says, I'm 5-3. I got a 2 wide receiver, 2 flex league. May, Judkins, AK, RJ, Algier, Travion Henderson. Okay, cool. Okay, so here's my current concern. You're 5-3, yes, which is solid. But my only concern is if you trade away Alvin Kamara right now for Hampton, this week you have Travion Henderson and you probably start RJ Harvey alongside of him. I'm okay with that. That's fine. In terms of rest of season value, I think Hampton, what he would theoretically provide in comparison to Alvin Kamara, who has effectively done just about nothing as of late. Like, I understand the upcoming schedule for the New Orleans Saints will ease off, especially near the fantasy playoffs where they take on Carolina, the New York Jets, and Tennessee, which are 3 of the potential best matchups you can ask for in that span of time for Alvin Kamara. But Alvin Kamara, typically when we've gotten that late into the season, he typically goes, oh, my ankle hurts. I guess I can't play for the final 3 games of the year. Gonna shut it down. Usually that's what happens. So if you can get rid of Alvin Kamara and bring in Hampton, who will certainly be, trying to get back into his role and trying to get back to being a solid contributor, especially when you take into account the Chargers' upcoming schedule here, honestly is relatively solid in my mind, especially when you look at weeks 9 through 14. After this week's Tennessee matchup, you have Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, bye week, and then hopefully he'll return for Las Vegas, Philadelphia, and then continue on for the remainder of the season against Kansas City, Dallas, and Houston, which could all be shootouts. So yeah, I'm willing to make the move. That's cool with me. Thank you. Tier Limit says full PPR, pick up and start Trey Tucker or Alec Pierce. Let me see where I currently had them ranked. Okay, so I had technically Trey Tucker ranked higher, but now that we got confirmation that Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers full capacity ready to go, I think it does effectively shift the tides in which I'm going to probably, I don't know, can I trust Trey Tucker to just be objectively given enough touches? Okay, here's the thing. Between the two of them, I feel like Alec Pierce in a full PPR is less reliable because of the deep receiving ball action that he continues to get. He's yet to score a touchdown there. For now, because of the full PPR, I will go with Trey Tucker. If it was a half PPR standard, I would probably just take Alec Pierce. Thank you. So for right now, in your circumstance, let's go with Trey. Bug-Eye Buck Nasty says, Charbonnet, Henderson, Monangai, Slayton, Golden, Watson, full PPR. Please pick 3. Yeah, great. I'm in first place in two of my 12-man leagues. Thanks. This is my last one. Okay, perfect. This one I'm last, brother. You're in last place in this league. Okay, we're gonna flip it around here. Here we go. So Monangai and Harrison are the 1-2 combo. If I had to play a third, I'd probably end up rolling with Charbonnet there. That's my 3. Thank you. Rob Monahan sends in a question. Rob, thank you. Says in a full PPR, choose a flex between Charbonnet, Hunt, and Gadsden. Ooh. Okay, so it's between these two. It's either Hunt or Gadsden in a full PPR scoring format. I feel like there is a justification to go with Gadsden. I think I mentioned this earlier with somebody else's question. I probably would just play Hunt because I really do enjoy the potential of that matchup. But if you wanted to play Gadsden, I have no issue with it. I think they're both going to be incredibly closely ranked come tomorrow morning's full PPR flex rankings. To which I think I'll have Hunt maybe 2 or 3 spots ahead of him at most. So again, both of them very much so justifiable, but I would roll with Hunt this week. Thank you. Josh sends in a question, says Sutton or Kyle at the flex. I would rather play Kyle Monangai. I've got Bijan, JT, Puka, and Adams. You've got an incredible team. Congratulations on the win this week, Josh. Omar, what's up? Says Dart, Henry, and Debo for Rice, Omarion, Hampton, and Vidal. Ooh, okay. My only question, genuinely, revolves around how much value does Dart provide to your team as it currently stands? Like, let's say you said, Andrew, I've got Lamar Jackson. I don't need Jackson Dart anymore. Then at that point, I would be okay making this trade, to which I would be getting Rice and Omarion, Hampton / Vidal. But in the event in which you were saying, like, Andrew, Dart is my starter right now, now I'm going to have to play whatever, Jared Goff for the rest of the year. At that point, I wouldn't make the move. Thank you. Kaiser says, enjoy your special day. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Kaiser says, in a 1 QB, double wide receiver, double running back, double flex format, I'm 4-4 in a 10-team league. Full PPR, Mahomes, Tracy, Javonte, Judkins, Etienne, Sutton, T. Higgins, Ricky Pearsall, BTJ, CD Lamb, Pickens, Pitts, Isaiah Davis. Would you trade Javonte Williams and T. Higgins for Henry and Kraft? I probably would. Considering your tight end currently is Kyle Pitts, I think the upgrade at Kraft is such a significant one in a full PPR capacity, to which I think Javonte's value in comparison to Henry, the issues with T. Higgins and the potential injury of Joe Flacco's throwing shoulder, I'd be willing to take Henry and Kraft for the rest of the way. I'm cool with that. That works for me. Thank you. Also, who would you start? Pick 3, Etienne, Sutton, Tracy, T. Higgins, or BTJ? Etienne's number 1, Tracy would be 2, and BTJ would be 3. Thank you. Eric M sends in a question. Eric, thank you very much. Eric, big night tonight. The Dodgers, baby. Come on. We gotta clutch it up. We've got to come away with a victory somehow, some way. We got Shohei Ohtani starting tonight, if I'm not mistaken here. Dodgers lineup. Let's see here. Got Shohei Ohtani on the bump, taking on Max Scherzer. This should be quite. Well, let's see what the lineup is. We've got Shohei 1, Will Smith 2, Freddie Freeman 3. We're switching it up again. Mookie Betts, Muncy, Teoscar. Wow, we really switched it up. Tommy Edman, Kike Hernandez, and then Rojas. Rojas with a clean catch last night to clutch it in. It's going to be a great game tonight. Okay, let's see here. It says full PPR. I have to drop and start one between Mason, Stevenson, and Hunt because I have Goddard on a bye and I need a tight end this week. I know Stevenson is hurt, so I'm leaning towards him. I wouldn't drop Stevenson. I would rather drop Mason in comparison. Actually, no. Look, here's the thing. Hunt is probably going to start for you this week. And in the event in which you're not 7-1 or 8-0 or 6-2, I probably drop Mason to just make sure that I have Hunt in my lineup, leave Stevenson on the bench. That's fine, and go pick up your tight end. That's the way that I would approach it. Thank you. And which of those running backs would you think is a better playoff schedule? Better playoff schedule belongs to Stevenson. If you look at the upcoming strength of schedule for the running back position, the New England Patriots have the number 1 strength of schedule. They take on Baltimore, Buffalo, and the New York Jets, which are 3 of the top 7 running back matchups you can ask for in terms of rushing statistics allowed. Thank you. Puka Doncic sends in a question. Says, pick 1 quarterback. Williams, McCarthy, Brissett, Flacco, Mac Jones, and Penix. Genuinely, I would play Jacoby Brissett. In the last 2 games, he has had 270 yards and 2 passing touchdowns minimum. On top of the fact that now he has the best matchup at the quarterback position. On top of the fact that not only is Trayvon Diggs went to the injury reserve last week, but Donovan Wilson, one of their starting safeties, who's played the most defensive snaps amongst all players on that defense, is out. I would go with Brissett on Monday night to tear up that Dallas Cowboys defense and secondary. Eric Nixon says in a full PPR, 12-team league. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. Major injuries plus bye week. Recommended 99 pick 3, wide receiver 3, and a flex in regards to Myers, Kincaid, Kupp, Slayton, or drop Kupp for T. Jennings or DeMario Douglas on the waivers. Okay. I'm not too interested in playing Terrell Jennings. I understand there's a little bit of momentum behind that, but for right now, I'm not going to lean there. Out of the available options you have at your disposal, I would feel most comfortable genuinely playing Dalton Kincaid as my flex. As for the wide receiver 3 position, I think there can be an argument made just to go in the direction of a Darius Slayton, but I don't love the matchup against the 49ers, to which it probably ends up being like, is Kupp healthy? Like if Kupp ends up playing, I probably go with Kincaid and Kupp. If Kupp is out, I would go with Kincaid and probably at this point, Jacoby Myers. Thank you. Fantasy Forecast sends in a question. Says, full PPR trade Sutton for his London immediately. Easily done. Also start Bam Knight or Diggs or Gadsden in a full PPR. In a full PPR, I would go with Gadsden there. And I would leave Ferguson in my tight end position this week. It says I traded Dak and Sutton for London and Caleb Williams. I have Herbert as my quarterback already. Yeah, that works. It says my other league, do I trade Etienne and Cook for Gibbs? No. Unless you're playing in a 6-man league, this is an unbalanced trade, and I would rather have the Cook and Etienne side rest of the way. Thank you. D99 says PPR, start Pittman, Nico, Kittle, Ferguson. Okay. I think Pittman has to play because he plays against Pittsburgh. Nico kind of has to play because of the opportunity against a non-Patrick Surtain-led defense of the Denver Broncos, to which then it leads us to the potential discussion of do I play George Kittle or Jake Ferguson, who I have back-to-back ranked. For now, in a full PPR, I would prefer to go in the direction of Jake Ferguson. I mentioned it earlier this week, and I'll continue to reiterate the potential value at which this matchup provides, specifically because of the volume of receptions per game allowed by the Arizona Cardinals thus far this season. Let me just go pull up the stat right now so I can reiterate that for you guys. So as of thus far this season, not only have the Cardinals allowed the 5th most fantasy points per game to opposing tight ends, 12.8 per week and a half PPR. They have allowed the 3rd highest rate in terms of receptions per game to opposing tight ends at 6.71. Expect for a lot of Ferguson this week. Kittle's the odd man out, which is crazy to even say because he's such a good potential play this week, but you've got too many good players there, D99. Easy E says, thanks, man. I need your help this week. Questions in the chat. Says 3 wide receiver, super flex, Brissett, Bijan, Jacobs, JSN, Tedero, McMillan. Wide receiver options are Quentin Johnston, Christian Watson, and or pick up Slayton, Thornton, Pierce, or Bourne and play them. Gadsden, my super flex, okay, is Flacco, Nix, or Young, or pick up Bam, Manungai, or Hunt. Okay, hold up. Whew. There's a lot of information here. First and foremost, Manungai should be picked up and played in your super flex, genuinely. That needs to be done. I would play him over Flacco, Nix, and Young. I genuinely would. That's how much of an upside he has this week. Now, in regards to picking your 3 wide receivers, if you're starting JSN, Tedero, McMillan, of your final available options here that you have set forth, I would play Quentin Johnston, genuinely. If I wasn't going to play Quentin Johnston at that point, I would probably pick up and play Alec Pierce, if not him, you know? Thank you. G Medina says PPR, flex, Dowdle, Bam, Franklin, Jennings, Marks, or Tucker. Of these available, I'm probably going to end up rolling with either Bam Knight or Woody Marks. I think in a full PPR scoring format, if Bam Knight doesn't score the touchdown, I think we're going to be in a little bit of trouble. I'll go with Woody Marks there out of those available options. Thank you. Alejo says in a full PPR, I need a flex, Adunze, Cook, or BTJ. I would play James Cook, genuinely. That's the preferred of the group. Says no Swift or Hunter could mean more love for Adunze and BTJ. Cook struggles whenever the Bills are playing behind and the Chiefs are great versus the run. You know, the Chiefs, as much as you may think the Chiefs are great versus the run, it's more of a matter of the Chiefs have been ahead in so many games that opposing teams genuinely cannot run the ball against them because the game script does not allow for it. Like this most recent week, okay, sure, you shut down Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Every single human has. Oh, the week before, 6 carries for Genty. Like 6 carries is purely just a dependent factor of the script alone. So the way that I see it, I genuinely would still roll with Cook there. If you wanted to play either of the other 2 available options you have at your disposal, I don't have an issue with it. I think they're all going to be great, but Cook is my play for this week. Thank you. Human Ziggy sends in a question. Human, what's up? He says the following. Questions in Patreon, thank you. Okay, let me see if I can pull that up for you right now. Okay, let's see what you had here, Ziggy. Okay, Ziggy says, I have Dart, Jaden Daniels, Flacco, Chase Brown, A-Chan, who already played, Devontae Adams, Jawan Jennings, Deebo Samuel, Charbonnet, Marks, Bam Knight, Fannin, Njoku, Broncos, Brandon Aubrey, Patriots, Egbuka. Who do I drop to pick up A.J. Barner? And should I pick up Horton or drop anyone to play over Jennings? Start Marks, Charbonnet, Knight, or Horton / Jennings, Patriots or Broncos, and Jaden Daniels, Dart, or Flacco. Okay, wow. So here's my suggestion in this circumstance. I cannot suggest that you pick up Horton until I know if Kupp is out. So until then, for now, just leave it as what you currently have with the Jawan Jennings circumstance. And then if we're looking at potentially dropping a player to pick up a tight end, I probably end up dropping one of your two defenses. I don't think I need to have the New England Patriots and Broncos every week rest of the season. Now, in the event in which you're playing in a league in which you have to have two defenses rostered, I would probably look to drop Njoku at that point. Actually, looking at your roster, I would be willing to drop Jennings here to pick up Parker Washington and play him ahead of him. Otherwise, if you can drop one of those two defenses to pick up a tight end like AJ Barner and play him this week, that's the route that I would explore. Otherwise, in this circumstance, it probably ends up being a week in which I drop Bam and I drop Njoku and I pick up. Actually, you don't even have to drop both. You can just drop like Njoku and Jennings and pick up Washington and Barner. Thank you. Appreciate it, Ziggy. All right, let's go ahead and travel back here. Let's see what we had. We had Rogo, who says, "Sup, bro? Super cooked. I'm 2-6. I wasted waiver wire number 3 on McCarthy. 12-team half PPR. Jaden Daniels, McConkey. We have Jacoby. We have Gibbs. We have Marks. We have Kittle, Odunze, Cardi, and Denver's defense. My bench is Swift, Pacheco, Shaheed, Dobbs, Fannin, and Benson. What do I do? I mean, look, at this point, there's nothing to do per se. Like, ultimately, when I look at the team, I don't want to play Jacoby Myers this week. So basically, that's the only to do that you must. I would swap Jacoby Myers with most likely Shaheed. Is it a full PPR? It's a half PPR. At that point, I'd probably just swap Jacoby Myers with Romeo Dobbs and hope for touchdown upside. So Dobbs would probably play there as my wide receiver too. Gibbs, Marks, Kittle, Odunze, Cardi, Denver. That's all fine. You're good to go. Just keep it rolling. Hope for Swift and Pacheco to get healthy and see where this goes. Thank you. Jojo sends in a question. Says, do you like Barkley better rest of the season than Genti? Under the assumption that his groin injury isn't going to be something that plagues him for the remainder of the season, I would say yes. Primarily because their upcoming schedule is relatively advantageous, especially as we approach the fantasy playoffs. The Eagles have the third easiest strength of schedule against Washington, Las Vegas, and Buffalo, to which I would believe that Barkley could go off in that span of time, under the assumption that he's back to being his normal self. So yes, if I had to choose between the two, I would rather hitch my wagon to Barkley and go pick up the potential of someone like Bigsby to handcuff it. Michael Harvey says, start Caleb or Jacoby this week. I would rather start Jacoby Brissett, genuinely. In one of my leagues, I'm doing so. Like, I went and I specifically picked him up to play him because I was like, yeah, this is the best available player. D99 says, PPR, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, 1 tight end. Okay. We have Brown, Jalen Warren, Monangai, Bam Knight, Devontae Adams, Nico, JJ, Gadsden, and Kraft. Okay. So you, as of this moment, if I'm setting your lineup, I'm going Warren and I'm going Monangai. I'm playing Devontae Adams and Nico Collins. Actually, you have JJ as in like Justin Jefferson? Never mind. Okay. So then at that point, I'm going to go Justin Jefferson and Devontae Adams. And then I would play Kraft as my tight end. And then within the flex position, your best available options are Nico Collins, Gadsden, or Chase Brown or Knight. I would play genuinely Nico Collins there at that point. So I'll take Warren, Monangai, Adams, Nico, JJ, and Kraft. Thank you. Rogo says Carter and Demo are available on the waivers to pick up. When you say, or is it, I mean, do you mean Demo or do you mean Demo? Because that says Demo, and Demo would be like DMO, which would be David Montgomery. In the event in which that is what you're talking about, otherwise you're just saying like Michael Carter or Demercado. I don't want either of those. Bam Knight is the guy that would probably get the majority of the run. That's what you meant. Sorry, that's what Demo is. Got it. No, I don't need either of those two. You're good. Steven Drix, long time no see, Steven. How you doing? Says half PPR. Would you flex Bam, Rico, Tyler Warren, Dowdle, or Chuba Hubbard? Genuinely, I would play Tyler Warren. Thank you. Also, Flacco or Lawrence. As of right now, considering the concern with Flacco's injury, I would just go Lawrence there. Ali says PPR flex slot. Dowdle, Shakir, or Johnston. In a PPR, I'm playing Shakir. Thank you. Mark says full PPR, need 2 running backs and 2 flex. Team is in the chat. Okay. Says I have Dowdle, Knight, Jameson, Williams, Henderson, Mason, DK, and Algier. Also, Michael Carter's on the wire. Okay, so of the available options you have at your disposal, I would play Travion Henderson. I would follow it up with Bam Knight as my RB2. I would play Shamir DK as one of my flex, and then I probably end up rolling with, I don't want to play Algier, I don't want to play Mason, I don't want to play Michael Carter. So it's either Dowdle or Jameson Williams. I don't want to play Mason. Yeah, so Between those two in a full PPR circumstance, I've heard a couple things regarding the offensive coordinator of the Lions saying he's let down Jameson Williams with the lack of utilization that he's been exposed to thus far this season, and they're hoping they can get him more looks as we proceed. Do I trust it? Honestly, as of right now, with Dowdle and the potential, I don't know what they're going to do with that backfield for another consecutive week. I probably just play Knight, Jameson, and Henderson. Those are the three that I roll with. If I had another flex option, yeah, it's DK. Thank you. All right, let's see here. We had Omar who says Dart Henry. Oh, yeah, we already answered this one, didn't we? Sent it twice. It says, I have Lamar Jackson, thanks. Okay, perfect. That's crazy that you have him, but maybe I just remember, in my subconscious, I remember you mentioning you had Lamar in a previous question that you asked in a live stream, and it just clicked in perfect. Roy, what's up? Says half PPR. I need a running back too between Hunt, Walker, Monangai, David Montgomery. It's Monangai, 10 times out of 10. Starting May, Genty, Mate, Amon-Ra, Kraft, and Tyler Warren. Beautiful. Play Monangai there. You're good to go. Thank you. Demond Smith sends in a question. Thank you very much, sir. Says full PPR. Would you start Henderson over BTJ? I would, genuinely. I don't trust that the Patriots give Henderson most of the work. If you don't trust it, then play with BTJ this week. Because at this point, I trust it enough to where I'm going to go in the direction of Hendo at a pretty high ranking tomorrow. Josh Holt says, thanks, man. Side note, your beard is always on point. I appreciate that. Thank you. Let's see here. It says pick 3 Henderson, Walker. Yeah, so as of these available, Walker will be the odd man out. We mentioned that earlier, Josh. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thomas, what's up, my man? It says pick 2, Monangai, Debo, or Pittman. I'm playing Monangai and I'm playing Pittman. Thank you. Gerardo says, hi, Andrew. Please see the questions in the chat. Thank you. Says questions. Pick 2 flex in a half PPR. Kraft, Knight, Henderson, Harrison. Goodness, brother. Why do you gotta ask the tough ones? Oh my goodness. Okay, so I have to, at this point, with Kraft, Tracy, Knight, Henderson, and Harrison, I would play Kraft and I would play Henderson, genuinely. Also, pick one between Odunze, Aaron Jones, or McMillan. I would 100% of the time play Odunze here. And then Broncos, Texans, or Lions. Let me check my rankings right now. Between those 3 defenses, I have the Detroit Lions ranked the highest against McCarthy. Again, the Broncos are a little bit of a less... I mean, they're my number 4 defense, so don't get me wrong, they're not bad. And the Texans are my number 10 defense this week. So ultimately, they're all fantastic options. I just prefer the Detroit Lions taking on J.J. McCarthy. And then also pick 2 between Spears, Gadsden, Worthy, and McMillan. I would play Gadsden and I would play McMillan. Thank you, Gerardo. I appreciate it. Have a great weekend. Lethal Jake says half PPR flex. Tyrone Tracy, Keenan Allen, or Olave. In a half PPR, I'm playing Tracy. Thank you. Chris Moraga sends in a question. Says, good afternoon. Half PPR question number 1. I need a wide receiver. Pick one between Diggs, Worthy, and Franklin. I will play Stephon Diggs there. Number 2, PPR, wide receiver, Quentin Johnston or Trey Tucker. See where I have him ranked in comparison. Okay. I think I give Quentin Johnston the week off. I'll just take Trey Tucker there. PPR, wide receiver, and a flex. Debo, Marvin Harrison, Etienne, Monangai, and Gadsden. Okay, if I have to pick a wide receiver out of these available options, I'm going to probably lean towards Marvin Harrison. And then I just end up playing Monangai in my flex. Thank you. It's not what I wanted to do. Let's go back here. Slowly but surely catching up on some of these super chat questions. I appreciate you guys sending these through. Support the channel. Steven sends in a question. Steven, thank you. Steven says the following. Gibbs, Achane, running backs. Rice is my wide receiver 1. I need 1 wide receiver and 1 flex between these available options. Ladd, Devontae Adams, Monangai, full PPR. Man, okay. So of the available, Ladd has to play. So that's your wide receiver 2. And between Monangai and Devontae Adams in a full PPR scoring format, I think I have to play Monangai. I think it's that genuinely advantageous of a matchup to where, regardless of who's playing running back, this Cincinnati Bengals defense is inept. So I'm going to play Ladd and Monangai. Thank you. King Fred says, thank you, Andrew, for the advice. I'm in first place in standing and in points. Congratulations, my man. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, thank you very much, and I'm glad to see you're succeeding, but job's not finished. You got to keep it rolling, brother. You got to keep it rolling. Marcus Parker says, I've been hit with injuries, and I need help improving my team. We have quarterback Josh Allen, running backs Quinshon Judkins, Walker, Charbonnet, Bam, JCM. Wide receivers are Puka, Garrett Wilson, Tetaroa, AJ, and Kittle, and Jawan Jennings are my tight ends. Okay. That's a really good-looking team, by the way. But in regards to potentially improving your team, Puka and Garrett Wilson is a beautiful combo there. Kittle, I don't want to move. Running back is an issue. I think in your circumstance, it is the primary issue. But here's the problem that you currently have. Quinshon Judkins is dealing with an injury. Walker and Charbonnet are pretty much attached at the hip. Bam is a fleeting commodity until Trey Benson comes back. And JCM won't be good until probably the fantasy playoffs, if I had to guess. So in this current iteration of your roster, unless you're going to ship off maybe A.J. Brown or Tedero McMillan with one of your running backs to go get an upgrade, I think that would be the only way in which you could probably explore this possibility. To which, in this circumstance, for this week, considering Garrett Wilson and A.J. Brown are both on bye week, unless you make a 2-for-1 and pick up a wide receiver, that's the only way you can do so. Otherwise, you wait till next week. Because for right now, it may be a little bit more difficult to trade in A.J. Brown because he is currently on the bye. And you need Tedero McMillan to play this week. So in the future, again, I will say, and I'll continue to reiterate, the easiest strength of schedule for the remainder of the fantasy football regular season belongs to Quinshon Judkins. Then it belongs to the Patriots, Dolphins, Bengals, Steelers. So of those available potential running backs, we have the possibility of going after, you already have Judkins, a Jalen Warren, a Chase Brown, and maybe even buying low on Stevenson, but even then I wouldn't do it. Outside of that, ETN, 10th easiest schedule rest of the way. That's always the guy that I continue to harp on. If you have a relatively solid if you have a relatively solid win-loss record, I would be suggesting you trade for Bucky Irving or Omarion Hampton right now. That's what I would suggest. That's the way in which I try to improve this running back team, because otherwise the wide receivers are solid across the board to the point to where I don't need to make any adjustments there at wide receiver or tight end as we proceed. So if you have the opportunity to trade for a guy like Jalen Warren, ETN, buy low on a Kyron, buy low on injured players like Bucky or Omarion, that's how I would explore it. Thank you. Anthony O says, in a 12-team full PPR, I traded King Henry and Nico Collins for Dowdle and JSN. I don't like it. I now have Puka and JSN alongside of James Cook and Jalen Warren as well. Thoughts? As a whole, just in a vacuum, Henry and Nico, without knowing the context of the rest of your team, Henry and Nico for Dowdle and JSN. I don't like the trade primarily because of this singular piece. If Rico Dowdle isn't traded, or if Rico Dowdle isn't given the bulk majority of the RB1 workload as we proceed for the remainder of the season, to which he can be a solid RB2, if he cannot pull it, and he's not given the opportunity to pull it, I don't like the trade. But, hey, we make trades based on the potential of future, right? So, in this circumstance, we just got to hope that Dowdle can pull it out, and I'm hoping for your case he will. Kyle O sends in a question. It says, full PPR, I've got Lamar, Gibbs, ETN, Chase Brown, Monungai, Charbonnet, and DK, Tedero, McMillan, Waddle, and Pearsall at wide receiver. I'm 3-5, and I want to upgrade wide receiver. Any suggestions to make? Yeah, look, as of right now, when I look at the upcoming schedule at wide receiver for the remainder of the season, the easiest strength of schedule for the rest of the regular season of fantasy football, weeks 9 through 14, belongs to the Eagles. So once they come off of the bye here, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown against Green Bay, Detroit, Dallas, Chicago, L.A. Chargers is as easy as it gets. The Chargers have the second easiest strength of schedule for the remainder of the fantasy football regular season, weeks 9 through 14. Then the Vikings, the Lions, the Steelers, the Cardinals, the Bengals, and the Giants. And, of course, the Jaguars as well. Fingers crossed, BTJ. So in the case in which you're trying to theoretically upgrade a wide receiver when you have DK, Tedero, Waddle, and Pearsall, you already have DK Metcalf, who has a great schedule. You have Waddle, who played incredibly well over the course of the season since Tyreek Hill's injury, and if it wasn't for that bogus call, would have had himself an even bigger game on Thursday night. So DK and Waddle, I'd like to keep. Tedero, McMillan, we can ship off if you would like, and we would potentially go after the potential, we could go explore the opportunities at which you can maybe trade for a Devontae Smith there. I think that's definitely something that we should explore. See what it would take to get an A.J. Brown if it maybe requires a running back and wide receiver combo. You can oblige. So that's my current thought process on the hand. Buying low on BTJ could be an idea right now, considering the Travis Hunter injury. T. Higgins, but with Flacco's injury right now, I'm not too interested in that. So that's my primary suggestions as of right now. Kyle, thank you. Kenneth Williams says, hi, Andrew. Full PPR flex, Henderson and Odunze. In a full PPR, I would play Henderson there. Thank you. Matthew Kim sends in a question. Says PPR pick 2, Laporta, Slayton, Washington, or Golden. Out of these available options, I would go with Laporta and I would go with Washington. Thank you. Raider Alex sends in a question. Alex, thank you. Says full PPR, start 1 in the flex. Woody Marks, DJ Moore, or Kyle Pitts. Out of these available, I'm going to play Woody Marks there. Thank you. Siobhan Walker says, Big Dog, who do you start, Dobbs or Kincaid in the flex? Or maybe Tucker or Franklin? I mean, as of right now, I would rather play Dobbs over Tucker and Franklin. So I think you're on the right track. But is it time to drop Mooney? I think it probably is, based on what he did last week. Between Dobbs and Kincaid, let's see where I have them. Is it a full PPR? I don't know if it is. I'm just going to check what I have him in a full PPR at, and I'll let you know. In the event in which you are playing in a full PPR format, Kincaid is there and Dobbs is ahead of him. Yeah, if it's a full PPR, I'd probably go Dobbs. In the case in which it's a half PPR or standard, both of them do certainly have touchdown upside. So there could be an argument made between the two, but honestly, I'd probably, if it's a standard half PPR, I'll go with Kincaid. If it's a full, I'll just take Dobbs there. Thank you. Precision Building sends in a question, says, hey, bud, in a half PPR, do I stack May and Booty, or do I use DK instead? And okay, so here's the thing. Chimere DK in a half PPR technically is the more, I would say, he's not volatile, but he's just the sketchier play purely based on, yes, he's only had 2 good weeks of production, but where his production revolves around is primarily a pretty good base of yardage and target share as of the last 2 weeks. So I'm going to lean towards Chimere DK there at a top 30 capacity this week, not only because of the opportunity that he's been exposed to as of late, not only because of Calvin Ridley's injury that is going to hold him out for another consecutive game, but also the information that we discovered yesterday in regards to 2 of the starting cornerbacks of the Los Angeles Chargers, Tony Jefferson and Tarib Still, both being out this week. And Still's primarily their nickel cornerback, and as we've already gone ahead and seen thus far this season, and I'll go ahead and confirm via snap shares from the slot position, this season, over the course of the last 2 weeks, Chimere DK, in terms of running routes, has around 81.5% in week 7 from the slot and 72.5% in week 8 from the slot. He's the primary slot receiving option against the defense that just lost their primary slot nickel cornerback starter. DK's the answer. Thank you, Precision. Sorry for the long, that was definitely long-winded, a little bit too much. I could have just said play DK and we would have been chill, but I wanted to kind of give you more context as to why you don't stack these two. Franklin, what's up? Franklin Gillette says, starters are Josh Allen, Derrick Henry, Kyle Monangai, Wanda Robinson, Juwan Jennings, George Kittle, Oronda Gadsden, Kareem Hunt. Beautiful. I really like this team. Swift is on the bench, Abuka's on bye, Chimere DK sitting there, Sutton's there. Okay, so the only question would be, am I playing Chimere DK or Cortland Sutton over the alternative available options? I would play Chimere DK over Juwan Jennings. That's the only potential change in which I make here, assuming you are in a full PPR. I would even probably play Cortland Sutton ahead of him, but in this circumstance, I'll take DK there. Thank you. Tano Martin says PPR. Tano, long time no see, man. I hope you're doing well. Says Shakir/Sutton, kicker Ryland or Fairbairn, defense Bears or Atlanta. Okay, so between these two, I'm just going to take Shakir. He's in my lineup. Thank you very much. Between Ryland and Fairbairn, let me see where I had them ranked. Chad Ryland I have ahead of Kaimi Fairbairn, so I'll play Chad Ryland there. And then Bears or Atlanta, between those two defenses, I have the Bears ranked higher, so that's where I would go. Now, that's primarily because, again, I only have them higher because of Flacco's potential for injury risk and concern and all that kind of jazz. Otherwise, I don't really like either of them. They're both out of my top 15. Adam Thompson sends in a question, says start 2, Chase Brown, Rico Dowdle, Tracy, and Monangai. Tracy and Monangai are my 2 starts. Thank you. Zobu says, Andrew. Hey, Andrew, I need 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, and 1 flex in a full PPR between Dowdle, Marks, Jay Downs, DJ Moore, and Christian Kirk. Also streaming for defense, San Francisco, Chicago, or New England. Out of those available defenses, I would play New England's as my number 1, San Francisco number 2, Chicago number 3. So New England's my suggestion. As for your potential 1 running back, I would play Woody Marks there as your RB1. As for your 2 wide receivers, between Josh Downs, DJ Moore, Christian Kirk, I would play Josh Downs and DJ Moore. And in the flex position, I would play Dowdle. So Christian Kirk's the odd man out. Coming off of the injury, probably a lesser snap count share. Additionally, on top of the fact that, Noel looked good in his absence, Kirk is Kirk is the bench. Thank you. Anthony Barrett sends in a question, says, hey, brother, in a PPR, Bam Knight or Kareem Hunt? I would rather play Kareem Hunt as of this moment. Thank you. Yeah, I think his overall competition for touches, I think what Kareem Hunt provides and what he can guarantee me is goal line work and early down rushes. That's the same thing in which Bam Knight is going to provide, but I think that Michael Carter is going to be far more involved than we initially anticipate, to the point to where it will hurt him in comparison to what Kareem Hunt will provide. Alan, what's up, my man? Says, hey, Andrew. How you doing? Pick one. Okay, yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you very much. Pick one running back in a full PPR. Rashard Smith. I hope you're doing well as well. Thank you, Alan. Rashard Smith, Zach Charbonnet, or JCM? It's Zach Charbonnet. 10 times out of 10. Loveland, Barner, Jonnu Smith, Okonkwo. I don't want to play Okonkwo. He missed practice a couple times this week already, and Gunnar Helm's getting a lot of workload. Jonnu Smith, not interested in. So it's between Loveland and Barner. Between the two of them, considering all the injuries to wide receivers on the Seattle Seahawks, I'm going to take Barner as of this week, because if I'm not mistaken, from what I saw earlier yesterday, via the injury report of the Chicago Bears, if I'm not mistaken, Cole Kmet should be available to play. Let me just travel on over to their official injury report, and I will confirm this. Yeah, Cole Kmet expected to play. So I'll take AJ Barner, Charbonnet, and we're starting both of the Seattle Seahawks in your case. Thank you. I got to close all these tabs. I have like 14 open. Okay, good to go there. Beautiful. Continuing on, we had a question that came in from Steven, who says, Bam Knight or Addison in the flex in a full PPR? Here's the thing. Do we trust JJ McCarthy? Do we? If the answer is maybe, then we just play Bam Knight. Unless it's a resounding yes, which for me it's currently not, I'm going to play Bam Knight. Jorge Perez says, hey Andrew, full PPR. Currently have Darnold and Purdy. Flacco is currently available on the waiver. Should I pick him up? No, I would just play Darnold this week. Also, someone dropped Lockett. Is he worth picking up? No, not until we get a confirmation of a trade of Jacoby Myers out of that organization. Even then, I wouldn't pick up Lockett. SR20 Mars says, who do I roll with for rest of season, Pinheiro or Boswell? I'd rather have Pinheiro because he doesn't have a bye until week 14, and I trust that offense more. Also, who should I drop for a tight end? Rico Dowdle, Rashad White, Chuba Hubbard. If I was going to drop one of those three available options, Theo Johnson or Zach Ertz, I would pick up and play Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz has scored a touchdown in 4 of the last 5 games with Jaden Daniels. And over the course of the last 14 healthy games with Jaden Daniels, including regular and postseason, he has scored 10 touchdowns in the last 14 games. So Zach Ertz is clearing away the play there. Now, in regards to your potential drop, out of these available options, I drop Rashad White unless you have Bucky Irving. In the event in which you have Bucky Irving, Chuba Hubbard gets the axe. Thank you. Dan Seck sends in a question. Says Loveland, Barner, or Jawan Johnson. Says I need a tight end for this week. Yeah, again, like I mentioned earlier, Kupp is dealing with an injury. Didn't practice yesterday. Expected to probably most likely miss tomorrow. On top of it, Jake Bobo and Derek Young are all going to be out. So the only 2 starting wide receivers active on the Seattle Seahawks from their primary 53-man roster. So for now, Barner is expected to get more workload and love within the matchup against Washington. Thank you. Cowboys22 says Jaden Daniels, Kyron Williams, Travis Etienne, Lamb, Rice, London, Tyler Warren, benches Waddle, McLaurin, Marks, Rashad White, Aaron Jones. I need to make a trade? ? Do you need to make a trade? Genuinely, no. I don't know why you would make a trade unless you were going to try to upgrade at running back, theoretically. Like if you wanted to take Kyron after he comes off a big week here against New Orleans, or Travis Etienne after a big week off of the Raiders matchup, and pair them up with Waddle and go for one of the top dogs at the running back position, you can explore that possibility. But outside of that, I would like to keep the depth, especially with upcoming bye weeks ahead. Actually, you know what? Okay, so Kyron and Etienne are past their byes. Lamb has a bye. Rice has a bye. London has passed theirs. Tyler Warren, so look, you're going to need wide receiver depth and tight end depth to be able to kind of make some moves for the upcoming bye weeks here. To which, again, you do have wide receiver depth. I don't want to trade that away because I'm going to require that as we proceed forward. And then you have running back depth in case of an injury. And, of course, you can utilize Marks as like potentially even trade fodder if need be. Maybe moving like Kyron and Etienne plus Marks. So like maybe like Kyron and Marks for a running back, 2 for 1, or Kyron and McLaurin or Kyron and Waddle for a running back in exchange. I think that would be the only plan of action, which would be a potential trade, which I would explore. Otherwise, I keep it as is. I keep the depth. Thank you. Juice Vino says in a full PPR, wide receivers out for the season. What trades can I make? Okay, let's see what you have here, brother. Barkley, Kyron, Etienne, Woody, Aaron Jones, Ferguson, Kincaid, Debo, Pearsall, Mike Evans, and Shakir. Oof, brother. Okay, so in terms of potential trades you can make, you've got really solid running back depth in terms of these 4. Aaron Jones could prove to be a value, but for right now, Barkley, Kyron, Etienne, and Woody are all great. Ferguson is great. You probably just have Kincaid until, waiting for the bye week for Ferguson. Debo, Pearsall, Mike Evans, Shakir. So we're in trouble. We basically just have 2 healthy receivers in Debo and Shakir, which, again, is not a bad thing to have at the current moment considering the way that they are being utilized. I understand there's a little bit of inconsistency and fluctuation there, but in order to get a wide receiver, you're going to probably have to trade a running back. So in your circumstance here, I'd be willing to move Kyron or Etienne or Woody. I'm keeping Barkley. I'm trying to move one of those 3 to try to get a wide receiver in exchange. Again, if we're looking at the potential of what you can get in exchange, it's very much so going to be dependent on the RB necessity of some of the teams in your league and who they have available on roster. In the event in which you find a team that's super RB needy, but they have no good wide receivers, then there's no point at that position, right? Otherwise, I'd be willing to go out there. It's full PPR, right? Okay. So currently looking at the running back field per se, okay? When I talk about Kyron Williams, who's currently in a full PPR averaging 15.7 points per game, in the event in which I'm going to get a wide receiver in return, I would like my wide receiver to probably average a very similar volume of points, to which I would go after an Emeka Ibuka. I would go after a Rome Odunze. I would go after a Michael Pittman Jr., a Justin Jefferson. That's a DK Metcalf. These are the players that I would like to go get. If there's a possibility which you can explore that by moving Kyron or Etienne to accomplish that, great. In the event in which that's not, even if I'd go after Ladd McConkey as well. In the event in which you would be in a position to which you can't move for those players, then I'd be willing to move a Woody Marks to just try to go get a Jordan Addison or a Devontae Smith. That's what I would explore. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. Bob, what's up? It says Monangai, Tracy, Dowdle. If I have to pick one, I'm playing Monangai. That's my number 1 option there. Thank you. Siobhan Walker sends out a question. Says full PPR, big dog. So with the injury to the LA Chargers secondary, do I start DK over Trey Tucker and Dobbs? I would, yes. Would you start Trevor Lawrence over Caleb? I wouldn't. I would play Caleb this week. Thank you. Mitch sends out a question. Thank you, Mitch. Says pick one flex. JCM, Golden, Tucker, Io Manor. It's between Tucker and Io Manor. For right now, I don't really trust Io Manor, so I'm going to play Trey Tucker there. Thank you. Heisenberg sends in a question. Says, I'm currently 2-6. It's okay. We're going to flip it around here. Says, start Ertz, Quentin Johnson, or Bam Knight. In a full PPR, I'll just go with Ertz there at that point. Thank you. Young Forever sends in a question. Says, I need as many points as possible this week, but one bust in my lineup, and I'm losing. Dude is stacked. Okay. Flex Rome, Nico, Chase Brown, full PPR. Let me see where I have them currently structured out. Full PPR. Rome, Adunze. No, that's Romeo Dobbs. Where's Rome Adunze? There he is. Rome Adunze or Nico. I mean, look, at this moment, so here's my concern. I think it's going to be very much so a run-heavy approach from Kyle Monangai. So between the available, I'm playing Nico Collins as my go-to. Thank you. David Regal says, standard format. Need 2 running backs. Chase Brown, Dowdle, Bam, Henderson, Monangai. Henderson and Monangai are my starters. Thank you. Lee Flores says, in a half PPR, flex Knight, Charbonnet, Sutton, or Kincaid. Out of these available, I'm playing Knight. Thank you. All right, we have effectively caught up. I do appreciate y'all coming through. We've been live streaming here on the channel for the last hour, 20 minutes. Again, do not forget that tomorrow morning I will be here back on the channel starting at 7 a.m. PST with updated rankings on screen for all primary positions. I will have my top 36 running back and wide receiver rankings on screen for half PPR. I will additionally have my top 16 quarterback and tight end rankings and top 12 kickers and defenses. For those of you guys who want my all-encompassing rankings at all positions, half or full PPR, including flex rankings, again, you can check out Betr, signing up today using code Andrew, making that first-time deposit minimum of 10, and of course, making that first-time play within a real cash play minimum of $1 will get you those rankings sent from my email directly to yours for the remainder of the season. Again, check your spam folder. And also, whenever you sign up today, you'll get a free $10 when using code Andrew. And additionally, all you have to do is make sure that you're eligible within the following states. Otherwise, the next best available option would be via the Patreon. Again, I post those rankings every single Sunday and Thursday morning, or Thursday afternoon and Sunday morning. But additionally, if you guys have any questions in regards to trade questions, waiver wire pickups, starter sit questions, you can shoot me direct messages and DMs, whether it be on the Discord Messenger and or the Patreon messaging system. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Let's see what we have in the live chat before we close out today's live stream. Jose says, full PPR, which 3 should I start? Matchups considered: Bijan, Monangai, Tracy, BTJ. Bijan, Manungai and probably BTJ would be like the three in a full PPR, three best based on matchups, if we're considering that at like the higher rate. Let's see here. Abe says, okay, let's see here. We're taking, you know what? Let me just take care of something real quick. Let's do this. I need to just check something real quick. Cool. We're good to go there. Okay. Beautiful. Okay. I need to reset my YouTube chat. I'm going to be here for probably another 10 minutes, guys. I'll try to answer as many questions in the live chat as possible. And then once I get through that, we'll be good to go. And then I'll be back tomorrow morning. Again, do not forget, 7 a.m. PST, bright and early. We'll be here on the channel. Appreciate it. Okay, let me pop the chat back up here. It's like lagging for me for some reason. Tony Lopez in the chat says, would you trade BTJ for Waddle in a PPR? What is BTJ's outlook with no Hunter? Well, Hunter's only going to be missing for 4 weeks, but hopefully in the meanwhile, in the absence of Hunter, with the upcoming matchups that are currently set for the Jaguars, Las Vegas, Houston, Los Angeles, and the Arizona Cardinals, I genuinely don't like all those matchups. So if I was in a position to where I can get Waddle, and I could potentially take advantage of the upcoming stream of games in which they have Buffalo, Washington, bye week. Look, the issue is, can you survive a bye? I think technically speaking, the talent of BTJ should be able to, suffice. But man, I don't love the situation here. If you have a problem with the Week 12 bye, then you don't make the trade. Otherwise, I'm open to it. Sutton or Myers in a full PPR, I'd probably just play Sutton there. I think it's just easy steal hands. Swollen says, full PPR, flex Knight, Charbonnet, Worthy, DJ Moore. At that point, I'm just going to play Knight. Francisco Rivera in the chat says, hey, Andrew, in a full PPR, Tony Pollard, Josh Downs, Chimere DK in the flex. I would play Chimere DK there. Thank you. Hayden says, Andrew, should I start Manungai or Pickens? I would play Manungai, genuinely. Yeah, Manungai, again, guys, here's the reality of the matchup in itself, in its entirety, okay? The Cincinnati Bengals, besides the fact that, again, they have struggled to stop anybody through the air, on the ground, doesn't matter. They, as of right now, are technically the second best matchup, allowing 5.27 yards per carry on average and 19 fantasy points per game on average on the ground alone. The recent productive weeks from running backs against Cincinnati, the Jets, 198 and 2 rushing touchdowns just off of rushing stats. Pittsburgh, 141. Green Bay, 105, 2 touchdowns. Detroit, 119 and a touchdown. Denver, 159. Expect for the Bears offense, who has been run heavy since the bye, to just only run the ball for majority of the game early on until Flacco does something to force them out of it. All right, let's see here. There was a couple more super chats sent in, so I'm going to go ahead and address those really quickly. Thank you guys for sending those in. We had a couple. We had Maya, who says, Maya Fuji says, PPR Rico, Hendo, or Jennings. Play Travion Henderson. Thank you. Lee Flores had a follow-up. Says half PPR DK, Marks, Charbonnet, Spears, Smith, Shaheed. In the flex there, I probably stick with Woody Marks as my go-to. Thank you. Sean sends in a question. Says, team is in the chat. Should I do anything? Let me see what you have here, Sean. Sean says, in a 10-team full PPR, we have Drake May, Bijan Robinson, Genty, we have Drake London. We have Jackson Smith and Jigba. We have Kittle. We have Bowers. We have Pinheiro. We have Patriots defense. Justin Herbert, Alvin Kamara, Diggs, Tedero, McMillan, Mooney. No, you don't have to do anything, brother. I mean, honestly, unless you're going to trade Drake London plus another player to, like, let's say you moved London and Tedero and McMillan, and someone's going to give you Puka Nacua. Great, fantastic. We'll take it. But in the event in which you're not going to make a huge upgrade for like one of the top 5 wide receivers, genuinely, you don't have to make any changes here. I think you're really just genuinely set with a fantastic roster that you've built here, Sean. Thank you. All right, 4 more minutes and we're going to close it out here. Does anyone think that the Lions will get J-Mo the ball? I feel like they have to. Based on what the offensive coordinator said, they have to. If they don't, then, smoke and mirrors, we can't trust it anymore. Sutton or Manungai? I'll just go with Manungai there. Should I trade Christian McCaffrey for London, Abuka, and Jalen Warren, says Johnny Appleseed. CMC for London, Abuka, and Jalen Warren. Yeah, I would. Looking at your team, I would. That's an easy trade to make as well. Gadsden, Devontae Adams, or Pittman in the flex half PPR. I would play Michael Pittman Jr. there, Jermaine. Parker Washington, Quentin Johnston, or Charbonnet. PPR, I need a flex. That's a really tough question. I feel like I want to just play Charbonnet just to be safe, but that's just where my mind immediately goes. Tony Lopez says Waddle or Garrett Wilson, full PPR, Andrew. For rest of season, I'd rather have Garrett Wilson. Bam or Debo, PPR, I'd rather just have Debo there. Jordan Love or Brissett, I'd rather have Jordan Love. Juwan Jennings or Bam Knight, PPR, I'd just take Bam Knight there. Jose says Tracy, London, Bowers, or Sutton in the flex. At that point, I'm just going to probably... It's either Bowers or London. If it's a full PPR, I think I'm just going to play Bowers, honestly. I really do feel like Bowers is just the guy. CMC and Marv. Okay, so if you're going to send away CMC and Marv, Johnny, in order to theoretically get that in return, I'd still make the trade. Considering what you are lacking in terms of your roster at wide receiver depth, I think you get enough value in return to justify the move. Kareem Hunt or Chuba Hubbard from number 8. I would play Kareem Hunt there in my lineup. Thank you. Mahomes, Caleb Williams, or Matthew Stafford. Got to play Mahomes 10 times out of 10 there. Mahomes has been the number 1 quarterback in fantasy. Why wouldn't we play him? Let's see here. Jagar says, full PPR, Dobbins, Monangai, Jalen Warren. I will play Monangai and Jalen Warren as my 1-2 combo there. Thank you. Okay, Josh sends in a question, and probably one of the final ones of the day. Says, okay, do I play Adunze and Kyle Monangai? I got Bam, Knight, and Chase Brown. Yes, you play Adunze and Kyle Monangai over both of those options. Thank you. Mahomes or Stafford? Play Mahomes. Travion Henderson, Chuba Hubbard, Shaheed, or Kraft in the flex full PPR. At that point, we have to play Travion Henderson 1. Kraft would be our number 2. Joe Wavy says, Bo Nix or Brissett? I would play Brissett, genuinely. Says, I get 1 point per 5 rushing yards. I think there's a discussion to be had there, but I think I'm still going to roll with Brissett because I just don't like the matchup for Nix. Tony Lopez says, in a Superflex league, I got declined the Chuba Hubbards for Stafford for my Etienne McCarthy trade and got clowned on, but ended up trading away JJ for Flacco. W move. When you say JJ, you mean JJ McCarthy and you got Flacco? It just depends on what the health of Flacco looks like. Otherwise, I think it would be a W, assuming he's healthy. Swollen says, Andrew, are we worried about they'll use the RBs in Arizona with Bam Knight? I mean, I know that Bam Knight and Michael Carter are both going to get run, but even with that being the case, over the course of the last couple weeks here, with Bam Knight and Michael Carter being the 1-2 combo of this backfield, Knight has been relatively highly utilized in terms of total touches. Yeah, 11 and 14 rushing attempts. So in terms of total touches, 12 and 17. I'm not worried about Bam Knight's usage. I think he'll be fine. If he's coming away with 17 touches against the Green Bay Packers of all defenses, I feel like he's in a solid position to succeed. Emily Doyle says Henderson or Jamison Williams in the flex. I would play Travion Henderson there 10 times out of 10. Thank you. Sebastian with the final question this afternoon. I appreciate y'all coming through, supporting the channel. Sebastian says, I need help. In a 12-team half PPR, I'm 4-4. We've got Drake May, Bijan Robinson, Bucky Irving, Omarion Hampton, Tracy, Jamison Worthy, and Jamison and Worthy. Okay. Was offered A.J. Brown and Vidal for Bucky Irving. Thoughts? Yeah, considering your lack of wide receiver depth, I'm okay with the trade. That's fine by me. I'm cool with it. Ultimately, it's just going to be a 1-for-1 trade in which then you still have the value of Vidal until the return of Hampton, whenever that ends up being. So I'm okay with the trade. I think it helps you in the long run because you have Worthy and JMO as your wide receiver 1 and 2, which is just unsustainable for the remainder of the season. Thank you. All right, great. We're good to go. Appreciate y'all coming through. Again, I'll be back tomorrow morning answering questions with updated rankings on screen as per usual. But for those of you guys who don't want to wake up early, of course, you can check out Betr. Of course, putting together a couple plays every single week. I did mention a couple plays at the end of yesterday's episode, but I could potentially go ahead and share that once again today. Let me go ahead and let me log into my Betr account here, just so we're all on the same page in terms of some of the plays that I'm making this weekend. So this is the one that I specifically entered, and I will go ahead and share that with you guys right now. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Let's do this, and then let me throw this up on screen. So as for today, or this weekend, Drake May, 2 passing touchdowns, Travion Henderson, 49.5 or more than 49.5 rushing yards. Jacobs, anytime touchdown. Vidal, more than 77.5 rushing yards. Khalil Shakir, more than 4.5 receptions. 10 for 80, that's the plays that I'm making. You don't have to put them all together. You can make many of other plays that you would like to on your own end. Again, you can travel on over to Betr and accomplish that and get my rankings. And of course, get a free $10 when signing up today. But that's going to cover for me today. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cue the one and only double helix. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Saturday. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And until next time, I'll see you guys. Peace. Okay, I just realized that someone sent in a super chat. It was after Sebastian, correct? Yeah, after Sebastian, we had Robert Mitchell, who said DK or Debo. No, I would play Debo. Would you trust Debo, him in his decline? No, I'm still going to trust him because, again, the way that it currently revolves around this offense, it's like as long as Jaden Daniels is healthy, 3 of the last 4 games in which he has played with Deebo Samuel have consisted of double-digit fantasy points. So, like, the volume is going to be there because of how much of a connection those two have as we proceed and how the play calling revolves around a Jaden Daniels-led offense. On top of it, what I mentioned yesterday in regards to Jaden Daniels, because of the fact that the Seahawks can stop the run at such an incredible rate at which they do, they're elite in that capacity, expect for a lot of passing attempts from Jaden Daniels, specifically because the offense of opposing teams against the Seattle Seahawks this season are averaging 39 passing attempts per game. I mentioned it yesterday. In games in which Jaden Daniels has thrown the ball 35 or more times, he's averaging 25 plus fantasy points. So expect for a lot of production from not only him, but Debo and Ertz this upcoming weekend. Thank you. See you guys. Peace.